Hello students, hope you all are good and I believe that you have already watched the previous video for this chapter. So we have started learning about human health and diseases, which is chapter 7. In this video, we'll be learning a new disease causing pathogen. So let us just recall what we learned from our previous video. We learned what is health according to WHO, and we learned what is diseases and what are the difference between a person who is really healthy, even though, and also a person who is really poor in health, even if he doesn't have any diseases. So we learned the difference between disease-free and health. Remember? And we learned about the classification of diseases, which is infectious and non-infectious, and also we learned about pathogens. So remember, what are pathogens? Pathogens or organisms. It can be any organism, either it might be a minute or a bigger animals or organisms that can create harm or threat or cause diseases to the host organisms. So I also explained to you guys what is host, and I also told you guys what are vectors. So in our previous video, I told you that mosquito act as a vectors because this helps to carry these pathogens and also spread various diseases. And we learned about bacterial diseases and also viral diseases. So with some examples. So in this video, we'll be learning protozoan diseases and life cycle of Plasmodium, which is very important because this Plasmodium species is one of the major protozoan species that caused an epidemic a very long time ago. And I believe that you guys have already watched or studied about protozoans in your 11th standard itself. And in today's class, we'll be just recollecting what we learned about protozoans in a little bit. So, you all know that protozoans are very microscopic and they are unicellular. And once it was considered as an animal species, but they are not animal, but they are like animal. They're considered as animal-like species, and they have huge number of species. Like so far, we have 50,000 species of protozoans have been identified. So though we have vast diversity of this species, only 15 genera of these protozoans can able to affect and also cause diseases to humans and other animals. So in this video, when we learn about these protozoan diseases, two important diseases are there that cause dramatic effect and also responsible for a lot of mortality, which is amoebiosis, and another one is malaria. So we'll be learning that in detail today. So before I begin with this amoebiosis, I would like to give you guys a flow chart how this life cycle of this Entamoeba stylitica species uh, take place. So if you look at this picture, this is the exact picture of this cyst, Entamoeba stylitica. So this is how it will be present when you observe it under the microscope. So this cyst will be present in the stools or fecal matters of the affected person. So as soon as an infected person adjusts fecal matters, this cyst will be there in it. So they are already multinucleated. One interesting feature about this cyst is that they can able to withstand adverse conditions. Say for example, without entering into the host body or animal, it can live almost for a week or more than a week. So in spite of depending upon any nutritional requirement or anything, so it will be remaining like a dormant stage. So the inside this cyst, the multinucleated entamoeba histolytica species cells will be there. So as soon as a person, if a person or animal uh, ingest or take this this matured cyst through mouth while with the contaminated water or contaminated food, it enters into the small intestine. So as soon as it enters into the small intestine, it develops into trophocyte. So it just develop into trypocyte. So this trypocyte is known as the infective stage of this Entamoeba histolytica. So what happens as soon as it developed into trypocyte, it starts multiplying, and it will start invading the host body. Say for example, it will travel to the large intestine, and also it will start affecting lot of mucous membrane and create ulcers in the body, and sometimes if it left treated it might even leads to a lot of mortality. So, and another two steps of this Entamoeba histolytica is encystation and invasion. As I told you, as soon as it enters into the host animal, it will the cyst will develop into trophocyte, and this stage is known as excistation. So from excistation, it will start infect the host body and multiply, and also undergo two process again, which is encystation and invasion. So during invasion, it just starts affecting our mucous membrane and then moves to several organs and affect different parts of the body. And from encystation, what happens again, this trophocytes will uh, develop or change into immature cyst mononucleated. So once it is released out of the outside of the host cell, during that time it will the single nucleus will develop into multinucleus, and it will be present into the fecal matters or the egestion. So this is how the life cycle again continues and causes disease. So as I told you, this disease is caused by this Entamoeba histolytica is known as Amoebiosis, and in common it is known as amoebic dysentery or amoebic colitis. So as I told you, it starts affecting the large intestine and feeds on food particles and bacteria that present in our gut. And also, as I told you, as soon as it enters into the host organisms, it just develops into trypocytes and then penetrates the walls of the host intestines and secretes this histolytic enzyme, which can able to cause ulcer, bleeding, abdominal pain, and the fecal matter that is released by the host or affected person will contain excess mucus. And what are the symptoms of this amoebiosis? The person who is affected by this amoebiosis will have diarrhea within a week or within a 2 or 3 days, and sometimes blood and mucus will be present in their fecal matters. And what are the vectors for this disease, amoebiosis? Houseflies are the vectors for this amoebiosis. They can able to spread this disease and act as a carrier, because you all must be knowing this house flies goes and feed on to the fecal matters of the animals. So they just go and carry these multinucleated matured insect, and then it might even go and touch the food particles or food that we have in our kitchen. So as soon as it enters there, the system insist the matured cyst will be there, and it will be entering into our intestine through our mouth. So this is how the life cycle, and so this is how it affects the human and also other animals. So let's talk about another important protozoan disease, which is African sleeping sickness. So why does it have a name with a country or a continent or name on the disease? Because this disease affect mostly the African areas, and if any other people who affected by this disease from other country other than African continent, it must be mainly due to the traveling. Say for example, they must have been to Africa for or tour or some other purpose, so they must have really got exposed to this protozoan and must have gotten this disease. So what is this African sleeping sickness? Who caused this disease and who is this vector? So the vector of this disease is this T-Sets fly. So this T-Sets fly, as soon as it bites a mammalian host or For example, we humans or mammals, right? So as soon as it bites, a single bite can inject this protozoan. What is the name of this protozoan? It is Trypomastia. So this Trypomastia species, there are three species that can cause this African sleeping sickness. So as soon as this T-cells fly uh, bites the host organism, this metacyclic trypomastigotes enters into the bloodstreams and it will be in the lymph nodes of the human body. So it will be multiplying, and once it has infected the bloodstream and lymph node, it will be traveling to the several organs of the human body, and it will cause lot of problem. So what happens as soon as it enters into the bloodstream, it starts invading or invading the host organisms. So it takes maybe 2 weeks at time. So what, say for example, at the very beginning, so this is how this Trypomastia species looks like. So as soon as the T-cells fly bites, it enters into the bloodstream and it will be traveling to different part of the region. So over a course of 3 weeks time, it will affect almost all parts of the body. So if left untreated, it might even affect the central nervous system. So after 3 weeks of time, a person who is infected by this protozoan, he will experience lot of uh, uh, symptoms. Say for example, headache, severe fever, and finally, if left untreated, because it can go and affect the central nervous system, and the person will experience severe sleeping disruption. So that is where the name comes from, because the disease, once it just progress to its final stage, what happens, it will create or cause a severe dramatic sleeping disruption, and after that its final stage, it undergoes a binary division, so during inside the host organism itself, and then again an not infected fly or any other fly come, or mosquito, if comes and bites, then this protozoan will enter it and the cycle again continues. So let us see what is given in your book. So, as I told you, it can be caused by three species of Trypanosoma species. In the previous one, which we have seen, is it is majorly caused by this vector, which is T-cells fly. So then we have Cambian or Central African sleeping sickness. So this is caused by this Trypanosoma gambiensis species, and the vector for this is Glossina pulpilis. It is also a fly. And then we have Rhodesian or East African sleeping sickness, which is caused by this Trypanosoma rhodesiensis. And the vector for this species is Glossina morsitans. And we have final one, which is Chagas disease or American trypanosomiasis, which is different from these three, and it is caused by the same genus but a different species, which is Trypanosomas cruzi, and the vector for this is Triotoma magista. Then we have Kala-Azar or visceral leishmaniasis. As the name suggests, it affects the visceral part of the host organisms, and it is caused by the Leishmania donwani species. And the vector for this disease, which spread this disease, is sandfly. Talk about another important protozoan disease, which is caused by this Plasmodium species, which we commonly call it as malaria, and it has several types of species like Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malaria, and Plasmodium falciparum. So the vectors, like which organism, which species spread this disease, is both humans as well as mosquito. But the primary vector for this Plasmodium species is mosquito, because when an infected mosquito bites, it just spreads this Plasmodium species, and it travels through bloodstream, and it lives in the red blood cells, and it has different stages, which I'll be talking you later. So and then it will be infecting the human organisms, and when a mosquito comes again bite an infected person, again it undergoes different stages of its life, and then the cycle repeats. This is how the malaria disease spreads. And as I told you, we have different types of malaria caused by different types of species, and we have, and every according to the species that is caused, again the cycle of the erythrocytic cycle varies, because what erythrocytic cycle is nothing but the red blood cells. So you know erythrocytes or red blood cells, and how long it takes to reproduce, how long it takes to multiply within the blood cells is called erythrolytic cycle. So as soon as when say for example when this Plasmodium vivax is being injected by the mosquito bite, it takes 48 hours for the multiplication of this Plasmodium vivax in the blood cells. So that is what we call the duration of erythrocytic cycle. So likewise, we have different types of malaria caused by different types of Plasmodium species. Let's learn the Plasmodium cycle in detail so that you will understand how this disease spreads.